Good morning, everybody. David is going to be logging in just a moment. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to drop them into either the chat or use the questions function. Go ahead and fill up whatever questions you want, and then David will be able to answer those either during his presentation or right after. And then I'm curious, what are you all drinking this morning?
Hey, good morning, Rain. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm actually drinking a Starbucks cold brew with pumpkin spice cream. And you know, it's kind of that season now. I guess we're getting into it. I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet, but you know, we got the pumpkin spice and the apple spice, the apple crumble, and all that stuff back. So it's pretty exciting.
Sorry, David. It's always a challenge with Rain here. Trying to give you the screen. Yeah, let's see. Did that work for you?
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. You'd think that by now I would have this figured out, but you know, technology. It's not my strong suit. Ooh, somebody's drinking kombucha. That sounds good.
Ooh,
Stumptown
nice.
coffee. Nice. Another Stumptown coffee. A regular iced
very
coffee. Nice. Water. I got a water and a coffee this morning. I was nice and tame so that I didn't drink all of my allotted 4 cups of coffee before we got to hang out today.
That's probably a good thing.
I know. Well, I drank 3 of them before we got to hang out today. So, yeah, by the end, I will be a little hummingbird over here with my heart racing.
Nice. All right, Rain, are we ready to get going?
I think so. We've got quite a few people already logged in, and we're recording. So anybody that comes in late, we'll be able to send that out to them, and they can catch up.
All right, all right.
Right.
Well, oh, there we go. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. Welcome back to another cold brew and review. So today, I thought we'd go ahead and have a quick conversation on the markups, Revu's markups, right? If you haven't been here before, if you haven't attended a previous cold brew and review webinar, my name is David Campbell. I'm a senior application specialist with Topcon Solutions, and I'm a Bluebeam certified instructor and a Bluebeam certified consultant. I've been teaching our different Bluebeam classes for, I'd say, what, 5 years now, and using Revu for about 7 years. So for today, as I said, we kind of want to go over the Revu markups, but I'm going to take you through a few different parts about these markups and hopefully share with you guys some very valuable little tidbits of information for those different types of markups. Now, what I'll start with, and again, some of you have seen this before, some of you haven't, but I wanted to take a second just to talk about Topcon Solutions. Topcon Solutions, we are the direct sales retail division of Topcon Positioning Systems, and we have 13 brick and mortar locations in the United States. Now, what that really means, and I'm going to talk about this on the next slide here, Topcon Solution Stores, we offer a new modern kind of model for servicing not only the civil construction, but also the vertical construction marketplace that some of the older independent dealer models couldn't provide. Now, we partner with Autodesk, we partner with Bluebeam to really give the full software kind of and hardware solutions, right? So with Topcon Solutions, we're like it says, we're a little bit different, right? we kind of do a little bit of everything as it pertains to construction. So we will talk about the design, we'll talk about design review, we talk about, layout, scanning, all the different things, and how how our different solutions can help tie back into that construction industry. So again, my name is David Campbell, and we're going to go ahead and just get right into it. So one of the big things that I want to tell you guys is when we get into review and you go to use your markup tools, you're going to notice a lot of different tools here. One big thing that I want to mention, of course, is that each of these tools will tell you that they will tell you their keyboard shortcut right next to the tool itself. So you're going to see your text box is a T, the typewriter is W. These are all just quick references here for, of course, utilizing those keyboard shortcuts. Now, the other piece that I'll make for any newer users is a lot of times it can be kind of hard to find some of these different tools and commands. You know what you want to do, but you don't know what it's called. You can typically go ahead and utilize under help the find tools and command. And in this sense, as soon as you start typing it in, it's going to go ahead and find that tool for you, and then you can just click on it. So the next big piece that I wanted to talk about with your markups, one big thing you'll notice is if we use a tool such as this call out here, let me go ahead and get over into one of my other pages here. I'm going to go ahead and place my call out. So at first, when I place this call out, let me go ahead and make sure that my line width is set to 1. A lot of times, by the way, you'll notice with your call outs, sometimes the Cloud Plus, your border line isn't showing. That's typically because your line width is just set to a standard of a 0. You can typically go ahead and adjust that to a 1, or even just grabbing your shape here and changing that shape will actually go ahead and establish a line width for you. Now, one big thing that I like to say here is that if you're going through and you're changing anything about these tools, whether it's the color, the opacity, the fill opacity, anything like that, if you know that you're going to use this call out tool like this every single time, you don't want it to change, at least this is where you want to start from, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of your properties menu here, the call out properties, and you'll find set as default. This just literally sets it so that when I go back to markup and I go to call out, notice that I don't need to adjust the line width or anything this time because it just remembers it. It starts from that every single time. So you don't have to go through and constantly adjust that. Now, as we get talking about customizing these markups, one big thing we need to really talk about is the other way to save your tools, and that's going to be that tool chest, right? So we kind of talked about at the bottom of your properties here, they're set as default. You'll notice right above that is the add to tool chest, and this literally just lets you take that tool and push it right into the tool chest. Now, what does that do? You'll see that when you save your tool into the tool chest, it just literally allows you to go ahead and reuse that tool. You'll notice here with my recent tools, I can click on that call out and it gives me an exact copy of that tool. But if I double click on it, it actually gives me the capability to start a new call out. So this is actually a very, very helpful note for any of you out there. This is called the properties and drawing mode. Any of these tools that you save into your tool chest, if you double click on it, you'll notice that the symbol will change. If you have a common note that keeps coming up and it's something like, okay, an RFI or C details, anything like that, you can actually just utilize an exact copy of that original, place it around as many times as you need. Now, in this case, some of you may be asking, Dave, mine only lets me do one tool and then it, pretty much escapes and I have to start over again. Well, for that, you want to look under tools and then reuse. As long as this is turned on, you should be able to go ahead and keep placing those comments around the sheet as many times as you need or around the document, right? But again, that's a double click, and that's that properties and drawing mode that are going to give you the capabilities there to essentially, just copy that markup and keep placing it as many times as you need to. Now, some of you may be asking, Dave, what's the benefit of starting over new though? Well, if you start over new, if I place a comment inside of here, such as C detail, okay. Now, I probably should have said it was going to do this before I had it do it, but you'll notice that as soon as I finish typing, let's say I'm going to do 1 here, notice how my call out automatically sizes to the text within. I don't actually have to go ahead and right click on that and auto size text box. It's doing it automatically for me. This is actually because of in my preferences here, this is a setting in your preferences. And if you go to your tools right here and markup, you'll see auto size text box and call out markups. If you check mark this setting every time you finish typing into your call out, no matter how far you drag it out, it'll go ahead and pull that right back to your text, okay? But going back to my point here, you'll notice that with C detail, got that here, right? If I double click on this one, it just gives me the capability to utilize that call out again, but without the text inside of it, right? It gives me a brand new call out. Now, the other thing that I really want to talk to you guys about, let me go ahead and get down into my markups list here. The big thing that you'll notice when you use a tool from markup or tools up here, markup or measure, anything like that, you'll notice that it's always going to give that markup a subject of what it is, right? It's a call out, or it's a note, it's a line, it's a rectangle. It's always going to do that for us. And that's kind of nice, but in the same sense, it makes it a little hard for us to look through these different, let's say, comments down here and find specific comments, such as maybe from the contractor or from an engineer, or if this is a correction, or if it's a type of landscaping plant, or structural element, whatever it may be. You'll notice that the tools in their default kind of status here, that default column, that they're the subject, excuse me, they don't give us much information. So what a big thing I wanted to talk about here is, let me go ahead and get back into my tool chest. You'll notice that if I scroll down into some of my other tool sets here, they're actually giving me the subjects of these different tools. Now, you'll notice here, such as in my construction symbols, phase 1, switching, blocking, diffuser, gate valve, we can start using these subjects to really specify what type of markup this is, or what the element is in general, whether it's a plant, it's a tree, it's a fern, it's a man, woman, a boy, it's a bench, EV, fence, anything like that, lamp post, what have you. Now, some of you may be wondering how I got my tool chest to look like this. Typically, what you'll want to do is you'll find this little properties gear here, this little slider, and you'll go to detail. If you go to detail mode, you'll notice that it'll give you the subject and any comments or labels that are on these different markups and measurements. So one big thing here, just like I said earlier, if I have an engineer comment, if I place this markup, you'll notice that it actually calls this phase 1. And let me escape out for a second. I must have clicked on phase 1 instead of my engineering here. But if I go back to my engineer, there we go. So you'll notice anytime I use one of these comments from an engineer, it's going to group it together underneath that engineer that subject, right? Now I can do this with any of my markups. Now, to do this and make it stay, or to do this and essentially put it in the tool chest like that, what you'll need to do is you'll grab one of your comments, such as my C detail here, in your properties. You'll want to grab that subject, and let's just say this is going to be a detail comment. Notice as soon as I change that, it reflects that change for that subject here in the markups list. If I add this to my tool chest, so I'm going to right click on that markup and I'm just going to place it in my tools. If I add that to my tool chest, anytime that I go to utilize this, it's always going to have that detail comment subject. Even if I double click on it and it gets rid of the C detail, notice it's still going to keep that subject, that customized subject, right? So that is one way that we can start kind of making our comments a little bit smarter. Now, the other piece that I have to talk to you guys about, and again, I'm trying to make sure that these are kind of bite-sized pieces of information, but of course, again, valuable tips and tricks for you guys, anyone who is attending this webinar. The other piece that I want to make here really quick, if I go back into my properties of my markup, you're going to notice down here in my properties, I have the custom columns. If we go into our markups list and then columns, go under manage columns here, you'll notice that we can create custom columns to put more information into our markups. So in this case, if I wanted to add a column for phasing, I could leave this as text, check mark, choice, date, a formula, number, or text. So with this phasing, I could say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here, and there's my phasing. If I know that one portion of my slab is going to be poured in phase 1, I can go ahead, come up here, find my tools, probably find my measurement. And you know what? I'm going to switch profiles here really quick. So I can go to my takeoff, quantity takeoff. And we should be able to find, where's my concrete? Oh, I thought I had one for it. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. So if this is going to be a 4-inch concrete slab, at this point, I could go ahead, draw the volume out for my concrete slab. Now I will need to, of course, calibrate this. Right now, my document is not calibrated. Go ahead and calibrate this really quick. I'm going to go to custom, calibrate. Okay. I'm going to use my 2 points here on my scale and tell it that it is 16 feet. Apply my scale. And there's my slab. So again, at this point, if I know that I want that the phasing to be here, I'm going to go ahead and turn off some of these other ones. There we go. And at this point, I could type in phase 1. I could type in phase 2, what have you. And again, this just gives us that capability to put more information into those markups. Now, my subject column or my properties panel switched over here for me because of my profile. But what I wanted to show is, again, that information will apply right here, any custom columns that you guys make. Now, the other nice piece about that is, just like with our takeoffs and estimating, if I wanted to make a custom takeoff, let's say for, I want to see how many studs I might need in this wall at a 16-inch spacing. You'll notice that essentially with maybe my polylength tool, it's going to go ahead and give me the length of the wall or the length of the segments, and I can even have it give me, let's say, the height of that wall. But how am I going to tell it that my stud spacing is 16 inches on center? Well, that's where we would go in with our custom columns. So we're going to see here within my poly length tool, if I scroll down, and I'm going to actually go over to my measurement panel, the depth here, this will give me the wall height. Okay, so that gives me 8 foot, and now I will have a wall area, and that should be right in here. And where's that wall area? Turn these off. There we go. So it gives me that wall area of 423.7. But again, we don't have, that 16 inches on center. What we would need to do is go ahead and go into our markups list, manage columns, and that's probably where we'd go ahead and create a formula, right? So you could call this number of studs. and we'll call this 16-inch space on center. So we're gonna do equals length divided by 16. Now, what I need to do here, contains invalid characters. So I need to, excuse me, go. Well, I need to go ahead and figure out why it's not letting me do. I think I'm using the wrong character. But essentially what we would end up doing is writing that formula to find, give us that answer essentially down here below, which at this point, I know what's going on. I have to actually go ahead and change my units. Let's do inches. Okay. And the reason why we need to do inches instead of feet inches is because when I go to do that, let's say that, length divided by 16 inches to give me how many studs I would need on center, right now it's giving me feet inches instead of just inches. So I would need to go ahead and adjust that so that it reads correctly. That's fine. Length is going to be in inches. There we go. And this one, depth, we can just do in feet inches. That's still fine. But essentially, again, at that point, I could go ahead and create those custom columns to give us any of that information that we may need, with these markups to help make them either smarter, either to help, our takeoff and estimating workflow, or maybe you're trying to, filter through these different markups in a design review, and you're trying to find specific markups, whether they're from a contractor, an engineer, or an architect, or anything like that. Utilizing these subjects and adding those comments into the tool chest is just going to give you that capability to filter down to these a lot easier. You'll notice that I can choose that 4-inch pour, I can choose that detail comment, engineer, phase 1. And the other nice piece about that is once you have these filters built, let's just say it's going to be phase 1. At this point, I could go ahead and save this as a filter. Go ahead and say phase 1 filter, and then OK. Now, every time when I come in here, and it doesn't matter the document, right? This filter list will retain this saved filter here through any of our projects as we keep moving forward within review to give us the capability to filter down to those specific comments, again, whether it's takeoff and estimating if you're looking for specific finishes, or if it's design review and you're looking for specific types of comments from different departments or authors or what have you. All right, so I think that was fast and furious enough. Does anyone have any questions?
We have a question from Steve. Will these markup details be available, accessible outside of Bluebeam? For example, if a PDF is viewed in Acrobat?
That is a great question. So typically the markups list is not available outside of Bluebeam Review, but what we can do is you'll notice this little button here called it's the summary button. If we do a PDF summary, you'll notice that you can append any of these markups and hyperlink it to the current PDF. So what it's going to do is it's going to make a report of all of these different markups and where they're located on the document and hyperlink them to it. So that when I hit OK, essentially what it'll do, you'll notice here, it gives me that full markup summary, and I can go ahead and click on any one of those and it'll take me there. But typically what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create one of those and then flatten it. And the reason that I flatten it is so that when someone opens this in Adobe, they'll be able to see all of the markups on the document, and they'll have this nice little report here at the end that they can click on and actually navigate to any of those comments. And by the way, it will have any of the information from the markups list. So you'll notice I have my subject phasing status. It'll actually keep and retain this organization of your markups list on this report. So that's something generally to think about as you're pushing creating this report. You want to make sure to kind of look over your columns, make sure they are what you need. If you need the filter on, go ahead and apply that filter list and then create the summary, and it'll only apply to those specific markups. Any other questions?
Just giving people a few more minutes. Right now, it looks like that might be our only question. Yeah, I think that might be it for questions right now. If anybody does have a question, feel free to email us too. We'll definitely keep an eye out for those emails, and we can reach out to you after the webinar. So if you do have a question, you can feel free to email info@topconsolutions.com, and we'll take care of you there as well.
All right, it is giveaway time for anybody that's been waiting. Let's.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to spin the wheel. I can't wait.
We do have a spinning wheel here, so you'll notice I'll just go ahead and jump onto this. And essentially, everybody that is registered, we do have your name here on the wheel. So once this stops and essentially picks a person, you will receive the giveaway for today. Which, what is it, Rain?
It is a Bluebeam themed gift box, and in that there is all kinds of Bluebeam goodies. I believe there's a notebook in there. I think there's a pair of really funky socks that are super cool.
Everybody loves socks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool little Bluebeam themed items. So yeah, whoever gets it's gonna have to show it off for us.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and spin the wheel here. Oh, and it looks like Jeff Bly is our winner for today.
Awesome. Congratulations, Jeff. I will reach out to you after the webinar to get your mailing information, and then I will send that out to you tomorrow. So you will get that right away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. If you guys don't have any questions, this is the end of the webinar, but again, we'll stay on for a couple more minutes if you guys do have anything that comes up. If you can't think of anything now, of course, feel free to reach out to us either by phone, email, or what have you. And we will definitely connect with you to answer any questions that you may have. If you're feeling kind of nice about Bluebeam Revu and you haven't had a chance to try it out, if you're just kind of looking into it, if you're interested in a free trial, you can visit this link here, topconsolutions.com/Bluebeam Revu, and there is a free trial download there. Which, as a note, once that trial expires, you can still keep Revu on your computer. It's going to work to if you of course, if you open any PDFs that are created by Adobe or Bluebeam or anything like that, it will open all of those PDFs. It does give you the markups list and things like that to review and look over any of those markups. You just wouldn't have the capability to mark up on them without a licensed version unless you're in a Bluebeam Studio session. All right, so thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I look forward to the next Cold Brew and Review.
Awesome, thanks guys. We will have another one on the first Wednesday of every month. So October 5th, I believe, is that first Wednesday. If you signed up for this one to attend, I believe you will still have to sign up again, but you'll get an email inviting you to sign up so you can hang out with us one more time. And now this is the part where Rain tries to find how to end the webinar. Let's see here. There we go. All right. It's so easy if I just click on the right button. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, Reen.
Bye.